Welcome to the Grey Zone with Ali Manzoor, a show where we challenge assumptions, stereotypes, viewpoints on various complex issues, and hopefully foster critical thinking. With me on the second mic today is Rashna. Hello,
Hello.
Rashna, how are you? Today we
I'm
have a
doing well.
very, very special guest with us. His name is Omar Shahid Hamid. Omar, how are you?
I'm good, Ali. How are you?
I'm good, Alhamdulillah. Welcome to the show.
ये आपने जो शो की इंट्रोडक्शन दी है तो बहुत खतरनाक है।
है ना?
ये सारी चीजें हम कर पाएंगे नहीं कर पाएंगे।
इससे ज्यादा पता है खतरनाक क्या है?
वो क्या?
आपकी इंट्रोडक्शन।
ये
ये
तो
मैं नहीं
फिर
देता हूँ। अच्छा जी, Omar Saab. Omar Saab is a novelist from Karachi. He's a PSP officer, which is Police Service of Pakistan. He served in Counterterrorism Department as well as Intelligence Bureau. He's written books. He's survived assassination attempts. He's conducted investigations locally and internationally. 2013, Omar Saab wrote Prisoner, which was translated in French and German and Urdu. 2015, he wrote The Spinner's Tale. It won a prize. The Italy Reads Pakistan Prize. Am I wrong or am I right? Please tell me. It won the KLF Fiction Prize. It was translated in Italian and German. 2017, he wrote The Party Worker. It won the KLF Fiction Prize. And 2 years in a row, only person who won the Fiction Prize for KLF was Omar Shahid Hamid. 2019, The Fix. A book about match fixing in women's cricket. 2021, Betrayal. It also won the Karachi Other Festival Award. Recently, you wrote The Election. Total 6 books. But these are not all your achievements. I think there's an even bigger achievement.
वो क्या जिंदा रहना?
नहीं, आप मेरे दोस्त हैं.
Listen, you live in
हाँ,
Karachi.
ये वाकई this is a huge achievement to stay Ali Manzoor's friend, no doubt.
I think both. I mean, the fact that you live in Karachi, to actually survive and thrive in Karachi is a no mean feat. Yeah.
Acha Omar, some questions for you.
Shoot.
Tell me, the journey from KGS to Police Service of Pakistan to an author.
यार ये आपने बड़ा मुश्किल सवाल पूछा है. Yes, so the first thing is that I guess you would say that it's not something that a lot of people do. I think that's fair to say. Most people who kind of come from that background will go on and do other things. For me, public service was it was the family business as well because both my parents were civil servants. So it was in that sense less of an extreme transition. बल्कि मैं ये कहूँगा कि उससे ज़्यादा शायद extreme transition थी when I became a writer because that is something that from being a police officer that's something that was never in the on the books and that just kind of literally I stumbled upon और वो मैं हमेशा मेरी बीवी ये कहानी सुनाती है ना कि one day I'd been reading some author जिसका नाम मैं इस शो पर डिस्क्लोज नहीं करूँगा और मैंने कहा यार ये क्या कचरा किताब लिखी है आजकल तो कोई भी कुछ भी लिख लेता है. So my wife turned around and said यार तुम्हें इतना शौक है तुम लिख लो ना. So I said अच्छा चलो okay and so I started writing and that kind of
writing
snowballed.
A book was not on the books, but it came.
It was not on the books. It came about kind of literally in the way that I just described it. By God's grace, it's been very successful.
The unnamed writer. I'm sorry, I'm cutting the unnamed.
यार ये मरवाएगा तू यार. देखो यही होता है अली मंजूर का.
नहीं. You think you wrote better than him?
No comment.
I kind of agree with
अच्छे
you.
पुलिस अफसर जो हैं वो हमेशा ऐसी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में कहते हैं no comment.
No, but I agree with you on the kachra writing because there are very few writers who are writing in English over here who are able to tell compelling stories. That's my opinion as a reader. So, and you are able to do that, which is great. So, I would probably give you the benefit of the doubt.
Thank you.
Acha, Omar, how is counterterrorism different from conventional policing?
Ali, counterterrorism is a very specialized field. We were talking before coming on air about this, and we were trying to give Rashna the ABC of counterterrorism. Counterterrorism kind of it does what it says on the tin, counterterrorism. And the reason I say it's very different from regular policing is, and Ali has a lot of experience in this, like policing may you deal with dozens of issues, and in fact, probably most of the issues that the regular police is dealing with have nothing to do with policing, right? We were talking to some friends recently और हम यही बात अंदाज़ा लगा रहे थे that if you go to the average police station in Karachi and if you were to kind of do an analysis of their workload, about 80% of the stuff they're doing on any given day has actually nothing to do with policing. it's alternative dispute resolution, it's, kind of hand holding, 10,000 other things. Counterterrorism is different because that is actually hardcore core policing, and that also in the realm of terrorism. So you are kind of actively investigating, prosecuting uh, groups whose stated aim and objective is to commit mass murder or to commit acts of terrorism. Oftentimes, it has an international dimension as well. So in that sense, it's thoroughly hardcore professional work.
My question is that you mentioned Karachi, and you go into a thana in Karachi, and it's a totally different. Totally different beast. And I remember having a conversation with somebody who's in the police a while back, and they said, "Well, there's a huge difference between Punjab police and Sindh police." And he mentioned something about funding and the kind of people, the induction of the kind of people who are inducted as well, and there are multiple differences. And is that true? Is there a reason why there's a difference between Punjab police and Sindh police?
So I think the main difference is that they have been able to digitize a lot of their services, and I guess they were the pioneers of it. And in moving towards that sort of model, in introducing systems of digitization, they've been able to deal with this issue of these problems that have very little to do with the police. So to give you an example, they set up these khidmat centers, and the khidmat center, you kind of go in. You guys would have gone through this, that जिस तरह हमारे कल्चर में होता है, यू वांट टू हैव अ लाइसेंस मेड, आप कहते हो यार वो किसका है, कोई जानने वाला वहाँ कोई एसपी या डीआईजी, तो उसको रिक्वेस्ट करते हैं कि यार वो लाइसेंस बनवा दे या हम आ जाएंगे, और सिमिलरली यू वांट अ कैरेक्टर सर्टिफिकेट इफ यू गोइंग अब्रॉड और समथिंग. What the Punjab police has done very successfully over the last, especially I would say over the last 10 odd years, is this move towards digitization. They had a first mover advantage as well. But these sorts of issues, you go into these khidmat centers, and you don't need to have had someone call up beforehand or whatever. You'll take a number from the ticket machine, you'll wait there, chahe aapka license ho, chahe aapka wo ho, and some of them in fact are, if I'm not wrong, 24 hours. So if you're a working person, and you can't go during office hours, you can go at like 9 p.m. at night, and आपका जो भी आपका वो होगा, there'll be a follow up कि भी इस बंदे का टिकट हुआ, प्रोसेस कहाँ से हुआ. So sort of, and so they've been very good at that, and not only good at producing those sorts of outcomes in one place, like so you think that अच्छा जी उन्होंने लाहौर में कर दिया, but then in kind of franchising it out into all their districts. So you'll probably get the same sort of type of experience in Bhavalpur as you will in Rawalpindi, and I think that's been their success, and I think they did a similar thing, for instance, with Safe City, with their Safe City project, right? It started in Lahore, and wahan se they've expanded it, I think now into almost all of their districts, if I'm not wrong. And again, same thing, that they're using that as a vehicle for more and more, like I think they've started giving out automated chalans. So as would happen if you were anywhere in the West, if the cameras flag your car, they'll trace it via your number plate and you'll get a ticket. Which incidentally, I think the Sindh police has also done. So it's not that
it's in a pilot.
They're starting it. They're
Yes.
starting it. So we're catching up. But to answer your question, they did this first. So full credit to them that they sort of took the initiative and went into this sort of innovative cycle. And
Actually, tell me, how can we address this stress deficit? See, policing is close to my heart. I talk to people, I talk to police, and I feel there's a great trust deficit between the awam and the police. What do you think, being an author, police officer as well, someone who's from the people?
Is it justified?
Yeah.
I thought he was going to address the stress deficit of the police, and I was going to say Ali Manzoor की phone call उठाना बंद कर दो. पुलिस अफसरान की
Because that's
stress जो
also
है
a thing.
50-60% कम हो जाएगी,
नहीं, but on
लेकिन
Yeah.
आवाम को नुकसान हो जाएगा. So it's a trade-off.
मैं दूसरा-
Sorry, but
Anyway,
coming back to
so
your
how do we address this trust deficit? क्योंकि ये जो आपने जिस तरह अभी you said with the Punjab police, there's this fear of going to a thana, Yeah, you feel that you want to have someone phone before I even want to have something as basic as a character certificate, because I want to go to, let's say, Thailand for vacation with my family, and people are calling me or you and all of us कि यार कोई है किसी को phone कर सकते हो? How can we address those trust deficits that exist?
Yeah, that's a very, very potent question, and I'll give you an anecdote. Earlier today, my wife runs this thing where she kind of goes and volunteers and teaches some kids from a little village or goat in Gadab, right, in Malir. And she had gone today, and they were talking about the police. And one of my gunmen was there, had gone with her. उसने police की वर्दी पहनी थी. So someone asked, and these are young, they're kids who obviously don't have access to formal education. They're very young. They're all, I guess, between the ages of maybe 5 and 12 or 13, something like that. So not more than that. So उन्होंने पूछा कि अच्छा ये कौन है? And a couple of the kids said, जी ये पुलिस वाला है. She was wearing uniform. Okay. पुलिस क्या करती है? And she was telling me that the kid said, पुलिस लोगों को मारती है, एंड और वो फिर पकड़ती है, और फिर आप पैसे देते हो तो वो छोड़ देती है. एंड फॉर मी इट काइंड ऑफ सम्ड अप द ट्रेजेडी ऑफ दिस, दैट unfortunately we have this reputation, and it's a trust deficit, right? So if a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old child who is not very urbane, who doesn't have a TV or even a radio in their house, this is the poorest of the poor. It's a small goat in Gadab. If that is their perception, then we have a problem. We acknowledge we've had a problem, but we have to kind of move to changing that. And जो आपका सवाल है कि how do you change it, it's not easy. It's almost, I would say, a kind of, it would be almost a generational exercise.
Like a mind shift change completely.
Like a mind shift change, exactly. All of us जो हम लोग police officers हैं, वो continuous एक process करें. Continuous. मतलब and this process may continue for the duration of my career and for the career of someone who came 10 years after me or whatever. But a society can, if you allow this to fester, तो हम उसको ना उस तरीके से, we want all the good that the police does, all of the fantastic things. We're talking about these khidmat markazes, we're talking about counterterrorism and all the
Madadgar 15,
Madadgar 15, which is never far from Ali's heart. But all these things, right? And you'll bear me out, Ali, ke when you hear something like this, it kind of breaks your heart, right? That उस बच्चे की तो गलती नहीं है ना, मतलब, but that is our perception, right?
I'm going to interrupt you. You know what a brand persona is in marketing, because we're both from marketing as well. So a brand persona is, if the brand was a person, how would it be? And you just defined the police ka brand persona.
Yeah, it comes down to that, but also on going on, what the police does and how it can be, really, really challenging at times. You spent time in Lyari during the gang wars, and so I had a maid at that time who was from Lyari, and every now and then she would come and she would give these horror stories about ye hua, and I'm like, oh my god, this is like a completely different world. It's Maximum City, that book about Bombay, looked like a walk in the park compared, what's happening. Yeah. So what was your experience there, and like, what has it been resolved? Is it better? Or is it still more of the same?
Lyari is a good sort of lead in, because Lyari was a very good, I would say, laboratory for this sort of thing, right? When I was there, this is now like 20 years ago, so it's ancient history. But at that time, fundamentally, there was a severe mistrust of the police, because the perception amongst the people was that the police was mixed up with the gangsters, right? So the local people did not want to have anything to do with the police. The police, bichare, for their part, were kind of squeezed because they were having to police this very tough area. They were kind of going out every day and every night, literally taking their lives in their own hands, putting themselves at risk against these very well-armed gangsters, and they had no public sympathy or support either, right? Because someone or the other would say कि जी ये तो फलाने के रहमान डकैत के साथ ये फलाना पुलिस वाला मिला हुआ है, या Arshad Pappu, who were the two sort of main gang leaders at the time. And one of the things that we started doing there in Lyari was that it was very clear that in the past, people had done strategies कि देखें आप, you can't take on both or however many factions there are at the same time. You have to focus on one and then move systematically. One of the things that we did was no, we will go after all of them at the same time to dispel the impression that the police was in the pocket of any one faction, right? So without this thing, अगर उनका बंदा पकड़ा तो उनका बंदा पकड़ा, अगर एक साइड के हाइड आउट पर रेड हुई और वहाँ शूट आउट हुआ तो दूसरे वालों के साथ भी उस तरह हो गया.
So was that difficult? I'm going to cut you, but was that difficult?
It was extremely difficult because it's the equivalent of a 2 or 3 front war, ना कि आप दोनों तीनों साइड से वो कर रहे हैं. The second thing was that चलो ये तो एक हो गया कि ऐसा ऐसा public perception आपका वो होना शुरू हो गया कि यार okay, these guys are willing to take on all these things, but you have to build public trust as well. And some of the things we started doing over there was we started holding these voluntary medical camps in the poorest areas of Lyari, where we would kind of get a team of doctors, have them treat people for free, and then just increasing public interaction, right? Because the people had stopped going to police stations because they said, police station थाने में जाने से हमें क्या फ़ायदा? हमें तो कुछ नहीं मिलना, हमें किसी को पैसे देने पड़ेंगे, हमारा नुकसान ही होगा. So we started doing things like having, during Ramzan, we would have open iftari. So we'd lay out an iftari, a simple iftari in front of the police station, and anyone who was walking by was welcome to sit down and break bread.
Who was paying for that iftari?
Sorry?
Who was paying for that iftari?
We were paying for it ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't from the people for the people?
No. It was
Okay.
it was it was a thing where जब आप थाने वाले वैसे you're gonna put together an iftari, right? Because in the police station they're gonna कोई अपने घर से कुछ लाएगा, कोई पकौड़े तलेगा or whatever it'll be, but the point was that you just share that out, right? And we found that then after a while people would start also bringing things कि अच्छा जी चले हम दही बड़े ले आए, आपने पकौड़े तले तो हम दही बड़े ले आए, that sort of thing. So it was a lot of stuff like this, and then the impact that it started having was that after about 4 or 5 months, and they were very tough 4 or 5 months in which we we took on a lot of losses. A couple of the SHOs were martyred in this period. So it's not that we're just coming up with these ideas and at no pain to us.
Yeah.
After a very significant cost in blood, aista people started turning around. So the indicators of that were that people started showing up to the police stations again for regular complaint. One of the first things that when I had gone there, I asked there are 4 police stations in Lyari. So I had asked them, where is what's the quantum of complaints and what is the nature of complaint? And they said, no one comes to the police station. कोई आते नहीं है, कोई complaint नहीं है. I was like, okay, and I had previously come from areas where the public was very, I'd been in Gulshan Iqbal or in civil lines where there's a lot of back and forth, right? People coming back and saying, कि नहीं जी ये तो ये मस्त. I was like, how can that be? But fundamentally it was because there was a trust deficit, right? And so one of the indicators was that after 4 or 5 months, people actually started showing up for all these regular policing complaints.
So footfall to the thana increased
Footfall
again,
to the thana increased, yeah.
And that trust deficit was being bridged.
Aista. And then the bit where I think we really felt that we had succeeded was when we started getting anonymous tips that if you go there, Flana gangster will be there, yeah, Flane ka asla wahan pada hua hai. Previously we'd been relying and paying informers कि अच्छा ये चीज़ निकालो और वो करो, and sort of relying on a lot of technical support to trace these guys. But slowly the information started coming back from the people, right? So they'd call up and say, हाँ, if you go to that gully, तो वहाँ आपको फलाने का असला मिल जाएगा. And you'd go there and lo and behold, you'd get that. So that I think that point for me marked the turnaround. कि now there was enough trust, public trust, that they felt comfortable enough to actually go to the, because in the past they would have said यार हम मुखबरी करेंगे तो पुलिस वाले हमें मरवा देंगे, because they felt that the police was linked with the gangs. So that was a very, like that, that's why I say that Lyari was a very interesting laboratory for this sort of stuff. And again, to our earlier point, that I guess it's the sort of things that have to be replicated, but on a much more mass scale, right? If you want to avoid the sort of conversations that we were talking about earlier.
So I have a slightly different question right now,
Sure.
because this world is so different from probably the world you grew up in. And as a fellow burger, because we
You count him as a, you don't count him as
I'm a bun kebab, man,
No,
between a
he's
burger.
in denial of being a burger. He is, but he's
Yeah.
in denial. I have embraced my
हम कम से कम
burgerness.
मानते तो हैं.
हम मानते हैं, and I have embraced my burgerness. And
BID burger
so
in denial.
When,
So,
when I first started working, I was under this misconception that I used to say, I'm very middle class, and I was told that no, Bibi, आप side में हो जाएं, आप कहीं भी वो नहीं है. And I realized that privilege is not about money. Privilege is about the family you're born into, the school you go to, the friends and family network you have, and it really does create opportunities for you. It is a different world, and it was a very humbling, moment for me at that point. So, what was it like for you, when you go from this world to that, and the adjustment issues, and how do you make connections with people then?
Being shot at in Lyari helps a lot.
That would help,
Because
yes.
it kind of, it takes this thing off कि जी ये तो मम्मी डैडी अफसर हैं, ये तो कैसे ऐसे इलाके में कभी नहीं जाएंगे, where sort of things can go wrong. So yes, going and getting shot at in Lyari, or getting your offices blown up in the counterterrorism department helps a lot in establishing your street cred. And I think apart from that, for me personally, I over the years developed this reputation. I'm sure if you ask many of my junior colleagues कि जी sir जो हैं वो तो बड़े सख्त हैं. And I think part of that was in reaction to the fact that I was very young when I joined, though it may not seem so now, but I was very young when I joined the police. So you're not only a burger, but like you're a 23-year-old burger, na? So there's not a lot going for you.
Double whammy.
Yeah. So वो उसमें then you kind of have to develop this sort of, I suppose, gritty, कभी ये smile नहीं करते sort of persona, to kind of reinforce, take me, you better take me seriously.
and you're here for business.
And you're here for business, exactly. That sort of take no prisoners approach. So for me personally, I did that. I think I still carry the legacy of it, because people who worked with me, junior colleagues, their standard refrain is हाँ जी साहब बस हम दुआ करते हैं अच्छा दिन हो साहब का.
So we're having very interesting conversations with Omar Shahid here. We're going to break this episode for this week. Do tune in next week for the part 2 of this episode and our discussion with Omar Shahid on the Grey Zone with Ali Manzoor.